Laptop check, keys, phone, good. Now, what am I doing? Today I'm going to be starting the footings, or the foundations, or the pillar system, or the screws. I don't really know what sort of footing system. Whenever I park underneath this oak tree, it kind of leaves like a resin layer all over the car. I don't know if you can see, now you probably can't see it on there, but I've always wanted private gates. I don't know why. Just like, it's just a bit of an FU, isn't it? And I don't have any electricity going to that part though. So they're kind of going to be like B-Tech private gates where I'm not going to be able to press a button and they just open. That will be in the future. The best way to figure out which gates you actually want is to just drive around and take photos of other people's private gates. And then you can get a good idea if they're the sort of ones you like. So look, are we going to have some nice private gates here? Yes, I like them. Pass. I mean, that's a pass as well. Just normal metal see-through private gates don't really do the job for me being that private. What about here? No, not really that private. Well, I like all that cladding there. Maybe I'm the one who's losing my mind, because everyone does seem to not have close boarded private gates like I want. So maybe I'm the one. No, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. They're the sort of private gates I like, where you can't see anything, and therefore meaning that they are actually private. We continue on the hunt for the perfect private gates. Oh, what about these? I'm not 100% sure on the like curved top private gates. I don't actually think that looks particularly brilliant. Now they're nice, I like that. However, not that private if you've got glass that allows people to look in. You see, what I'm noticing here is private gates is actually a bit of a misnomer. The thing is my brain remembers about 50% of important information. There's a word which is like misnomer, which means it's misleading. Private gates, yes, they're like 6-7 foot tall, but often they don't actually provide that much privacy. Like those ones, that's nice, I like that. But again, it's got this little arch in it, and I don't really like that. I kind of like the flat look for private gates. Oh, development project, I like that. And that'll have a sick view. We might have a viewing. Now that is a bit of me. I think that's it. I think that's the style gates that I want. Just flat, close boarded. I think that's metal, so it's not going to have any weather issues. Like for example, England's very damp and wood gates warp a lot. Like they change their shape and sometimes don't shut properly. Whereas with metal, you're not going to have any of that issue. So I think metal gates might be the answer, and that does everything I want. Anyway, we continue on the adventures of Chris finding private gates. Well, they're pretty private, except for you can see in, and that's what I don't want. Whereas this, I like that. I also like this one because it's got the flat top of it instead of like the curve. But then that's wood, but with metal posts. And that's the other thing, is metal posted private gates are like 100-ish quid in comparison to if you're getting like solid oak posts. Looking at a good few £100 in comparison. When you put the electric arms on it or whatever, you can just see them going through. So I don't think that looks particularly brilliant. I'd say that's about a £4 gate, whereas if it's metal, it actually is a little bit cheaper. This one's pretty interesting actually, because the gaps are so small where it actually kind of makes it private. I'm sure some of you are going to be wondering, Chris, why are you buying postcrete and concrete blocks? Like, what sort of foundation system are you actually going to be doing? That's a very good question, and I don't actually know. I've never done this sort of system before. I don't even know if it's really a thing. It's kind of a bit of a bodge job, to be honest, but there's a few reasons behind it. I'm trying to save as much money as possible, so I'm more than happy to do some like bodge job type tactics to try and save money. But also, your foundations and whatnot kind of depends on your soil quality. And after pickaxing away at this soil for quite some time, if you've watched the previous videos with like leveling the land and whatnot, it's pretty solid. I don't want to dig like a meter deep footings like I did on the London project, which was just completely overkill. If you've worked on or renovated like a cottage or something, I mean, you can have like 5-bedroom, 2-story houses built completely on like a row of flints. Okay, like I get it for rules and regulations and doing like something in London, you're in a terraced house and you've got neighbours right next to you, like a meter deep footings was needed, so I'll do it. But in this situation where it's a very unique project, I don't care about that sort of things. Yes, there's systems like corkscrews that can go into the ground to create a foundation. Yes, you can just do normal like dig a trench, flood it with concrete and whatnot, but I'm not going to be doing that. I don't want to spend the money. Something quite interesting about this part of my land is that the soil is solid. Like, it doesn't move. I'm having to hit it with a pickaxe super hard to try and break it away, and it's got such like a high quantity of gravel. And I was talking to my neighbour, and they said that they spoke to some old woman in the area who is like 80, and she can remember her parents telling her there used to be an actual road for like horses and whatnot. They used to go along this part of my land, so that might explain why it's so solid. I've also been finding a lot of clay pipes and like really small pieces of pottery and some bricks, which, considering there's no building on this part of the land, it's a bit weird to find that sort of stuff. So maybe like the clay pipes were just like thrown out of like the carriage or whatever. I don't know. I don't know much about history. When did people stop using clay pipes? I don't really know. But the soil is solid, which means I'm not going to, but I could probably just put block work just straight flat on the gravelly soil, and in 100 years it'd probably still look the same. Some like engineers or legit builders following me going, "Oh, you can't do that, you can't do that." Shut up. It's my decision. I want to do it. And like I said, I've renovated a cottage. It had no foundations. It was just like on a row of flints, and it's still standing. So going to be just fine for the sort of building I'm going to be building. I really need to get the puncture fixed, but until then I'm just going to keep putting air in the tyre.